A lot of people ask me, Sean, you're pretty good at sales, and I've been doing it for a long time. That's usually why, and I've learned a lot. But they say to me, Sean, like, if there was one technique that I could use all the time, what is that thing? And so today I'm going to share the most potent sales technique of all times. Let's go. What's up, FlowChat Connector? Sean back at you with another high ticket tune-up. Hope you're doing really well today. Don't forget to smash that like button. Share this out to somebody who needs to get better at sales. And of course, if you find some value throughout this video, please smash that subscribe button. We just hit 1,000 members or 1,000 subscribers, and I'm so grateful for each and every one of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you if you're watching this. And please have a friend subscribe because I'm growing to the next level, of course. Okay, so today we're going to talk about the most potent technique, sales technique of all times. And so a lot of people are like, Sean, what is this technique? How does it work? So let's go through it, right? I got to start with this quick little story. This is the story of two fishermen. Two fishermen went walking out to go fishing one day. And there was a professional fisherman and there was an amateur fisherman. And it was the same creek. They had the same bait. They had the same rod, even the same reel, the same everything. And they went to this creek. And the professional watched kind of the water and read the situation a little bit and went down to a place where he thought he could catch some fish. And he cast his line in. 2 seconds later, he got his little nibble. And then boom, he lands a fish. And this amateur guy was watching the pro and says, oh, well, that's easy. I'm going to go do the same thing. So he goes to a place that looks similar in the river and he casts his line in. And he gets a nibble and he strikes and he misses. He reels it in, casts it out, gets a strike, he gets a nibble, strikes, reels it in. No fish, right? And this keeps happening over and over. And every time he looks over this professional sales pro, or this professional sales fisherman, he sees this professional fisherman just put his line in the water, wait a few minutes, hook another fish. Put a line in the water, wait a few minutes, hook another fish. And at the end of the day, this amateur fisher person is so worn out, so just buried, he almost gives up, right? And he takes his line, he reels it in, he comes back and he sits on the side. And the pro fisherman packs up all his gear and he gets his big sling of all these fish that he's caught. And he's walking back and he looks at this amateur sales guy and he says, hey, or his amateur fisherman, he says, hey, looks like you've been having a little bit of trouble today. And the amateur guy says, well, yeah, I mean, like I was watching you down there just slay all these fish. And like, yeah, what's happening? And he said, well, let's talk about it. And so the amateur fisherman says, okay. And the pro says, well, what are you doing? And he goes, well, I cast my line in the water and I wait. And then when I get a nibble, I strike and I miss the fish. And he says, well, let's think about the fish's mentality just for a second. And the amateur's like, what are you talking about? He's like, look, the fish, like a human, is looking for something to eat. And so if your bait is that food, what do you do when you first see some food? Like if you're in amongst a whole, if you're in an open area and there's all these people around or fish around, and you come and you see this food that you want to eat, right? It's on the buffet table. Well, you don't go as a human and you just start eating right on the buffet table, do you? Right? Likewise, with the fish, you don't just want to eat that food right in front of all these other fish. You test it, make sure it's good food, swing around, come back, get a plate full and take the plate full somewhere quietly, and then you can eat that meal. Fish are very similar. So if we think of it in that approach, like if we're fishing, what we want to do is we want to cast that line out, and that little hit or that little nibble that you're going to get is actually the fish just testing the water, checking the food, making sure that it's actually a good food source in front of everybody, right? And so then that fish will swim around, come back, and then catch the fish or catch the bait, and then pull it away into a place where it can eat the food in the corner. I remember a fisherman just sits there and thinks about it for a second. He's like, oh my God, you're right. Like, that's crazy. And the pro fisherman says, yeah, well, let's put your line out. Let's go test it out. And so the pro fisherman watches the amateur fisherman cast the line out. And sure enough, the nibble. And the pro says, don't strike, right? Strip line, strip it out just a little bit more. And then so the amateur fisherman strips the line out a little bit, and the fish, sure enough, comes back around and hits that bait and then runs into a hole. And then the pro says strike. And the amateur guy goes boom, and he hits the fish and he reels it in. And he's so excited and all of his nerves rush through his body. And he's like, oh, that's amazing. I can't believe that worked, right? And so the amateur fisherman is always, of course, appreciative and says, thank you so much. I've caught my fish for the day. I can go home. And happily ever after, they land and both go home and eat and be friends and everything else. What can this teach you for sales, right? How do we apply this into the world of sales? Well, you can use this to sell more, right? Because what happens is, right, most traditional and amateur salespeople when they're thrown a message in DMs or on a sales conversation where they know it's a slam dunk to go for the jugular, like the snake is, as you're watching on the screen here, the amateur salesperson goes for the kill too soon. Just like that amateur fisherman was striking the fish too soon. If you try to strike for the fish or close the deal too soon, you will lose the deal and commission breath will come out of your mouth as a sales professional. So what we want to do is this technique called strip lining. And just when they give you that teed up softball, don't hit it out of the park, rather catch it and pass it back for another pitch to come back your way. When you do it that way, I promise you will close more deals. Okay. So be patient, strip the line, and then the prospect will close themselves. Great example. I have some amazing examples that I'm actually going to share with our member base. If you want to learn a little bit more about how we use this technique at a very high level, come check us out. Jump on the phone with us. In the link below, you'll see a link to book a call, chat with our team, see if FlowChat and what we do is actually a really good fit for you. If you like what you're hearing here, of course, like this video, share this out to someone who needs it. And of course, smash that subscribe button if you've got some value. But stripping line or asking that one last question before you set the hook is one of the most potent, if not the most potent sales technique of all times, whether you're in the DMs or whether you're in a sales conversation. And with that said, hopefully this one gave you a little bit more value. Pleased to share it with you. Very grateful that you're here today. And with that said, I can't wait to see you next time. Ciao for now. We'll talk to you then.